Security is important. And today we will spend the next hour talking about creating secure passwords, storing passwords, avoiding scams, forming safe habits for online work, and using a VPN, which is a virtual private network. Before I turn it over to Gary, who will introduce our speaker today, just a couple things about how we want to make things happen efficiently for this session. So if you could please make sure to mute your microphones so that we don't get extra feedback. We very much appreciate that. Some people like to have their cameras on, some people like to have their cameras off. Either way is fine with us. We'll take questions at the end. So we want to give our speaker an opportunity to cover his material, and then we will take questions at the end. So please put your questions in the chat or at the end. If you want to raise your hand and unmute and raise your hand, you can do that too. I think we can probably handle that with the number of people that we have on the call today. So again, just a reminder to save your questions for the end, put them in the chat. Also, you can log 1 hour of continuing education time for this session today. So now I will turn it over to Gary Varela. Gary Varela is the county director in Spokane County and also has a faculty position overseeing 4-H. So Gary, take it away.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome from Spokane County, the Spokane County Extension Office. It is my pleasure to introduce one of our Tech Changemakers. Tech Changemakers is a nationally funded project that carried on for 4 years, and we have carried it on in Spokane County. You're going to have an example of that today, and our colleagues in Mason and Mason County and one of the neighboring counties that is escaping me now are also doing Tech Changemakers. So it's my pleasure to introduce, and I'll let him give you a little background on himself, our Spokane lead Tech Changemaker, Joseph Erlandson.
Hi, as Gary said, my name is Joseph Erlandson. I'm a sophomore at Shadle Park High School in Spokane, Washington. And today I will be talking to you about how to stay safe on the internet. Cybersecurity is super important. It's important because it helps protect you against threats to your online identity, helps to maintain your website security, and your password and account security. First, let's talk about some of the threats associated with computer and internet use. One of these many threats is phishing. You're probably asking, what is phishing? Phishing is someone trying to mislead you into giving up your account info, sending them your money, or getting your files. Oftentimes, scammers will try to rush you into giving up your information or your files without allowing you time to think about what you're really doing. One of the many ways that scammers will try to get your money through a phishing scam is with a gift card. This is because it's untraceable and very hard for you to get your money back. So if someone is ever asking you for a gift card through something like a text message or an email, do not give them a gift card or any money. It's probably a scammer. Now, how can we avoid phishing scams? First, you don't want to click on links in emails or text messages. Instead, you want to go to the original source of the link and find it that way. So if someone sends you a YouTube video, instead of clicking on the link, which could potentially be malicious, you want to go to youtube.com and find the video through there. Search up the title of it, or however. This just ensures that any malicious intent in that link is not put onto your computer or website. Now, if you get a phone call, text message, or email from someone that you might know very well, but seems kind of fishy, they might be asking you for money or gift cards like we were talking about earlier, it could potentially actually be a scammer and not your friend or whoever. This is because phone calls, text messages, and emails can be easily masked to make it look like they're coming from someone else. So in this case, you would want to check with the original person through a separate method of communication. If they send you a phone call, you probably want to email them or talk to them in person. Always remember that talking to the person in person is always the best way to deal with this kind of situation. Remember, you want to avoid phishing scams to help protect your files, your accounts, and your money. Another threat associated with computer use is malware. Now, there are many types of malware, but today we'll be talking about three. These three are Trojans, viruses, and ransomware. First, a Trojan will mask itself as a useful program where in the background, it's really stealing your information, encrypting your information, aka locking it, or destroying your information. It gets its name from the Trojan horse, which of course was presented as a gift, but was really for malicious intent. Next, viruses. Viruses infect your computer, steal information, destroy critical applications, and get into your accounts for malicious intent. Finally, ransomware. Ransomware is a type of virus that locks your information and makes you have to pay to get that information unlocked. Generally, it's never advised to pay for your information back. This is because there's no scammer code that says if they pay you, you must give them their information back. At the same time, if you do pay them and they do give you your information back, you have no way of knowing if they're still in access of your system, if they can still hack you again after you get your information back. If you get a virus or ransomware or a Trojan, you will want to take your computer to a computer repair shop and let them know specifically that you think you have a virus. This is very important because it's easy for viruses to spread if the computer repair shop does not know that that is why it's being brought in. Windows and Mac OS both have great built-in malware protection that helps to remove the malware before you ever see it. So generally, you do not need to have a third-party antivirus software such as Malwarebytes, McAfee, or Avast. Finally, in terms of phones, Android phones are significantly less secure than iPhones and are much easier to hack. This means that if you want a secure phone experience, you want to go with an iPhone. Next, to maintain your web security, you want to avoid pop-ups saying that you've won money. You don't want to click on pop-ups saying that you have a virus or that you need to download an antivirus to remove some sort of virus. And you never want to click continue if your browser says that the site you're going to is not safe. This would mean that Google or Safari is saying, don't go here, it's not good, or it's malicious. Another way you can help to maintain your web security is by knowing the difference between HTTP and HTTPS, or Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. You don't need to remember that, by the way. What this means is that if you're using HTTP, the information that's being sent between you and the server on the other end is not encrypted and can be easily accessed by pretty much anyone who has an internet connection. So if you're doing, say, banking or entering credit card details into a website that's using HTTP, pretty much anyone can get access to your banking details or credit card information. This is why using HTTPS websites is crucial. When you're on an HTTPS website, the information is encrypted, which means that the hacker or scammer on the other end that's trying to get into your information will just get a random scramble of letters and numbers that nobody could interpret. Remember, to keep your information safe, you want to think twice before clicking on links or opening attachments. You want to verify requests for your private information. You want to protect your passwords, and you want to keep your devices, browsers, and apps up to date. So, what can you do to protect yourself? One easy way you can protect yourself is by using a strong password. To make a strong password, you want to use letters, numbers, special characters, and mix up all of these with 12 to 16 overall characters. So you don't want to use common words or phrases like names of a cat or dog, or phrases like password. And you don't want to just use character substitutions. This would mean that you use an and sign instead of an A, or a 5 instead of an S. These are easy to guess and very easy for hackers or anyone to get into your passwords. This is a great example of a strong password. As you can see, this password uses numbers, special characters, uppercase and lowercase letters, and avoids real-world phrases to create a super strong and complex password. However, this password looks pretty scary. Personally, I wouldn't be able to remember this password in a million years. So what do we do to save these passwords? We could put them on a sticky note and store it on our desk or a monitor, but I think a better way to store these passwords is by using a password manager. Password managers, as the name implies, take all of your passwords and store them under one secure master password, aka the password you use to get into your password manager. Password managers allow you to access all of your passwords wherever you are, as long as you have a device that can connect to the internet and an internet connection. This makes it super easy to log into virtually anything from home, vacation, or even work, and are always super secure. as long as you use the right password managers. However, not every password manager is the same. Many password managers are unsecure and you don't want to use them. So we found 3 industry recommended password managers that have been time tested to be safe and secure. These 3 are Keeper, Dashlane, and Bitwarden. Personally, I would recommend Keeper. All 3 of these have free options and paid options that offer the same level of security for everyone. The only difference between the paid options and the free options is some extra features that generally are not super important. So the free versions for all of these are great. Now, having strong passwords is amazing. However, it's not the be all and end all. One way that you can protect yourself, even if your passwords and accounts get leaked, is by using 2FA and SMS authentication. 2FA stands for two-factor authentication, and SMS is essentially a text message. When you go to log into, say, your bank online, after entering your username and password, you would be prompted to enter usually a 6-digit string of numbers, aka a 2FA code. This code is then sent to your phone, tablet, or laptop, wherever you have 2FA set up, to then be entered into the web page. After entering the code that you get on your phone, you can access everything just like normal. It's almost the same. The one key difference there is that if a scammer or hacker does not have access to your phone, your laptop, or your tablet, they do not have access to your accounts. This means that you're adding a physical layer of security to your digital accounts. Now, another way that you can protect yourself online is by using a VPN. A VPN, or virtual private network, helps to establish a secure connection to the internet from anywhere in the world. VPNs are especially important to use on public Wi-Fi. Public Wi-Fi is the kind of Wi-Fi that you get at places like coffee shops, such as Starbucks, or places like McDonald's or hotels. Anywhere where you can access Wi-Fi without entering a password is public Wi-Fi. When you're using public Wi-Fi without a VPN, the information that's being sent between you and the server on the other end is unencrypted, meaning that anyone who is on the same Wi-Fi network as you can get access to critical information that's being sent between you and the server. When you're using a VPN, however, the information that's being sent between you and the server on the other end is encrypted. This means that it is essentially locked down and hackers or scammers cannot get access to it. So if I'm using, say, youtube.com and I'm using it on public Wi-Fi, anyone else in the coffee shop, McDonald's, fast food place, or hotel that I'm in connected to the same Wi-Fi network can easily see what sites I'm on, what I'm doing on those sites, and any information that I enter to those. Now, more broadly, this is important if you're trying to do things like banking. Banking online often uses things like banking information and credit card numbers, which can be easily spotted and stolen on public Wi-Fi if you're not using a VPN. So using a VPN on public Wi-Fi is crucial. Just like password managers, not all VPNs are made the same. So we have found 3 industry recommended VPNs that have been time tested and work great. These 3 are Surfshark, Dashlane, and ExpressVPN. Personally, I would recommend ExpressVPN as it has a great price to performance ratio and is super secure. All of these are paid VPNs, and generally you don't want to use any free VPN. Free VPNs are usually both unsafe and unsecure. Oftentimes, free VPNs could be stealing your information and selling it to the highest bidder. So you want to stay away from free VPNs. Generally, ExpressVPN is in between $7 and $13 a month. And you don't need to use a VPN all the time. So if you're, say, traveling, it'd be a great idea to get the 1-month plan to have the VPN so you can use it at the hotel or any fast food places you might be going to. Remember, to protect yourself online, you want to avoid dangerous sites, use strong passwords, store those strong passwords in password managers, use 2-factor authentication and short message service authentication to add a physical layer of security to your digital accounts. And you want to use a VPN to stay protected on public Wi-Fi or just browsing the internet. Once again, my name is Joseph Erlinson, and be safe out there. We have this QR code evaluation link to let us know how you think we did. It would be amazing if you could scan the QR code or go into the chat to get the link that Gary is about to post. Thank you, and we are now open for questions.
Thank you, Joseph. That was very informative. I learned a few things. I appreciate it. Anybody have any questions for Joseph? Looks like Gary put the
I
link in
have-
the chat.
I've put the link in the chat. And as people are, I realize sometimes you have to kind of think about this a little bit. That was a lot of great information packed into a brief time. Not so many months ago, I received an email from the county CEO asking me to help him out with some gifts. This was pretty smooth. So I said, it was a text. And I said, sure, Jerry, what are you thinking? Then it comes back, well, I want to get some gift cards, but I want it to be a surprise. All the bells and whistles came on, and I just deleted that and blocked that number.
Right.
But they were pretty shrewd about it because they didn't say, hey, help me with some gift cards. I need some money. They just kind of reached out in a very casual way. So there can be, some of these scammers can be extremely sophisticated. And just a little sidebar, but our family has been discussing a code word, a release word that we could use in case of an odd circumstance where I really am out of money. And I need somebody to send me $100 because I'm broken down. Well, there's a code word. There's some discussion about it. My wife's looking at polite code words. My son and I and some of the other family members are looking at some more colorful code words.
Right. Thanks, Gary, for getting us going. There's some questions coming into the chat, into the Q&A. So the first one I saw come into the Q&A, and I see people have their hands up, so I'll try to manage this here. The first question into the Q&A, do I need to use a VPN if I'm accessing a secure website? Joseph?
The answer to that is sometimes. Using a secure website is great. However, if you're on public Wi-Fi, it can still be easily intercepted and can still be hacked into. So if you're on public Wi-Fi, the answer is yes, you want to use a VPN. However, if you're on Wi-Fi that you would get at your home or any Wi-Fi that you control, generally you do not need to use a VPN.
Maybe we'll jump, I'll monitor the hands raised if you monitor the chat box. So maybe we'll jump to Alex Foster. Alex,
Okay.
please unmute.
Yeah, thank you. I actually have several questions. One is I have an Apple computer, an iPhone, and I'm sorry, I didn't hear whether or not you said that for Apple MacBooks and etc., you need to have malware or like I currently have Bitdefender and then some malware, but I don't know if I need them or not.
So on Windows and Mac computers, generally you don't need an antivirus software because they have built-in antivirus that's very useful. And this has only been the last couple of years that they've gotten super great. So most people still think that an antivirus software will help. However, the built-in ones are more than enough for any day-to-day use.
Okay, and then the other question that I have has to do with protecting passwords. So I have two different Mac computers, and I'd love to have them sync. To have them
Right.
sync, I have to be on iCloud. I
Right.
happen to have a list in a Word document, a list of all of my passwords. So that I think then goes on to the iCloud, which I
Right.
think is not a good idea. Am I correct?
Yes. So the difference between just putting all your passwords in a Word document and storing them on iCloud and using a password manager is that the Word document can be accessed by anyone who has access to your Apple accounts or any devices that have the file on it. Versus with a password manager, only people who can access your password manager with your master password can get access to those passwords. So it's a lot more safe to use a password manager, and it's also a lot easier to get your passwords everywhere.
Right. I just happened to forget. I had a password manager, but I forgot my password to get into my
Right.
password manager, which was a bit of a problem.
Right.
So, and just if I could, one last question. When you said if you get an email, because there are actually a couple of master gardeners in the program that I'm part of that actually send out emails that I know are infected. And I've told them and they're aware of it. And the question so what I have done, and I want to know if this is a good thing. Now I just delete them, but can I actually open the email and go up to the address for the person, and I know what their address is, and
Right.
if it's spam or whatever you call it, it won't be their email address.
Right.
Is that safe?
Sometimes, like I said, it's very easy nowadays for scammers to mask their email address or text message number. So it appears as if it's coming from someone else. So they can make it actually look like it's coming from one of your colleagues or friends' emails. So potentially, however, if there's content in the email that makes it suspicious, you probably want to just disregard it in general.
Okay,
and
but it's
talk to
okay.
the original person.
But it's okay to actually open the email, not to click on the link and then delete it. That's okay?
Usually, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you for letting me ask all these questions.
You're welcome.
So now
Alex,
we have a number of questions coming in through the chat. So we'll start at the top. What
Jennifer,
are
before you
some,
go on, Alex, if
Yeah.
you're at all uncertain,
Oh, sorry.
yeah, if you know who it's from, delete that email and then email them a fresh email. That's going to give you absolute security. So you have it, you say, open it and hit reply. You can do that, but another safe way to do it, 100% certainty, is if you know who you think it came from, delete the questionable email and then send them a fresh email.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
all right, so are there security issues for like maps and CarPlay software?
Generally, no. It kind of goes hand in hand with what kind of phone you're using. So if you're using, I'm assuming this is talking about like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, just based on how the question was asked. But if you're using an iPhone, it will be more secure than if you're using an Android phone connected to the car. However, in general, with car software, there's not much malware that people have written for that because they can't get anything out of your car.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. All right. What about using different browsers, Google versus DuckDuckGo? Is one or the other safer than?
Generally, they're not safer. Google will store tracking information in it, and DuckDuckGo will not. The only difference really is the kind of advertisements that you'll get from it. So the tracking info that Google stores, which is stored on any Google device as well and in any Google app, this tracking data will be used for advertisements directed towards you, whereas DuckDuckGo doesn't do that. However, security-wise, they're pretty much the same. They're all built on the same underlying code.
Okay. What about storing passwords in a Google Doc that is behind your Google password and also locked? Is that safe?
No. So storing passwords in a document that is locked up with your Google password generally isn't a good idea, because if someone gets into your Google password, which Google has made it significantly easier to get access to that, even if it's not the real person, they have access to all of your passwords. So you want to use a password manager to make sure that your passwords are safe, even if Google changes something and it makes it easier for hackers to get into your accounts, because that is what they've continued to do, unfortunately.
Okay. So a couple things. There was a question here that this person missed the first few minutes of the session. I'm trying to figure out what the question means. So you may need to unmute and clarify here. Is it just best to erase emails that give notice of billing? A bill? I'm not really sure what, like if it's not a known email from a known entity that you pay a bill to, is that what you're meaning?
I'm looking for an example. Sorry, let me just get into my email. It's an email. You see sort of the subject line where they're all kind of lined up, and it gives you notice that, you know, your account's being billed.
Oh, okay. I get those all the time. Yeah. Does that make
And
sense
I
to
don't
you,
know, my
Joseph?
inclination is
I think
to,
so.
but I don't like want to be sure that my bank hasn't been hacked or something.
Right.
Right. And so here's an example of one that I get. I have an Amazon Prime account. I have 4 kids well, 2 kids left in college, but at one time I had 4 of them. And so the Prime account, and they're using it all over the United States, right? And I will get notifications all the time that my account is being billed for something. Amazon this, Amazon that, it's being billed for this, being billed for that. most of the time it's junk. I mean, I have my own way of checking to make sure that I'm not, turning off a kid thing that they ordered, but so Joseph, does that make sense? Does that
I
question
think
make sense?
so.
Okay, I'll let you respond then.
So unless they're actively asking you for your payment information to pay the bill, it's probably okay to just disregard it, because if it's a scam email, they aren't going to have any of your payment information. And then if you're still kind of questioning about it, possibly call like the bank, if it's from the bank, call whatever source that it's from and verify the information.
Does that answer your question, Summer?
Sure. So it's okay to actually look on it as long as you don't click on an attached
Mhm.
link.
Right. Don't click on attached links or anything in those.
Okay. I just kind of wonder with my phone that when I have a whole list, just
Right.
numbers, and it's like there's the email version of that. I suppose they just keep changing their name and their address.
Right.
I noticed one that got missed, Joseph. You might talk, the first question is, my antivirus software offers VPN as a part of a premium package. Is it better to get a separate VPN or use the one that's part of my antivirus package? And then follow that up with another question that is, tell us a little bit about how one goes through using a VPN. So we should be able to catch at least 2 or 3 questions there.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
coming back to those. Yeah.
So we'll start with the antivirus software VPN option. And generally, antivirus software VPNs are good because they're all by large companies that would be pretty much run under if they had any issues with them. So generally, it's safe and will have the same level of security as the ones that we mentioned. However, having an antivirus software at this point is not directly necessary. So you could potentially want to get rid of your antivirus software, because those are very expensive, and just get a VPN in that case. However, yes, it is just as good as any other VPN. And then the second part of that, how would one use a VPN? After you have the VPN software installed on your computer, you would open the application and there would be some sort of a button that would say Start VPN or Launch. And after clicking that button, you would be immediately on the VPN. It's very convenient and easy to use. And then when you're done using the VPN and you want to turn it off, you would just follow the same steps. You would press the button that you press to turn it on.
Thank you. Okay.
What about Face ID and Apple to get into my bank?
So for Face ID or Touch ID, specifically on iPhones, is secure to get into banking applications or anything else, and can even be more secure than using a password because those are tied to you physically. I say specifically on iPhones because the way that they do it on the iPhone is it takes a 3D scan of your face instead of just taking a picture. So it verifies that it's actually you. On an Android phone, you probably don't want to use these because they're not as picky with it. All it does on most Android phones is take a picture and see, does it look like you? Yes, okay. This means that if someone had a printout of your face and they held it up to your phone, it would just be okay with it. Definitely not good. So if you want to use Face ID, make sure you're using it on an Apple phone, and same sort of thing with Touch ID.
So I have a funny little anecdote here. I have identical twin girls. They're 21 now, but when they got their first iPhone, that 16, And Face ID started becoming part of how we did things. One of them, it brought up the Face ID and said, "Huh, you can't get into my phone." And then the identical twin picked up the phone. "Yes, I can." And they were both in the phone off the one, the one phone off two faces, and they can't do that anymore. It's gotten that good, and they still look exactly the same. People can't tell them apart. So it's good. All right. Let's see. I'm getting lots of emails that seem to be going to a construction company, or maybe coming from a construction company. I don't know if their email address is entered incorrectly and I'm getting their email, or if it's a scam.
It's probably just that they're sending it to the wrong email address.
Email address. Yeah.
Unless they're like asking for something from you, it's
Mhm.
probably just the wrong email address.
Do you get a separate VPN for your Android phone?
No. So if you get one of the 3 VPNs that we listed, and I believe pretty much any VPN, they work on all of your devices and can work on all of them simultaneously.
Okay. Have you evaluated 1Password? It's a password manager.
So 1Password is another password manager that comes up often in like lists of generally good ones. I have not heard any like specific, this is a great password manager type comments from major news articles or anything like that. But at the same time, I haven't heard that they've had any major security breaches recently. So 1Password is probably another good option. And if you're using them already, then it's probably okay.
Okay. This is a good one. If iCloud already has a document with my passwords, if I delete it from my computer, will it automatically delete that document? In other words, how often is iCloud refreshed?
So with Apple computers and iCloud, if you delete the file on your computer and it's stored in iCloud, I believe as soon as you delete it on your computer, it's immediately deleted from iCloud. So if you have some sort of document like that with your passwords on it, you will want to make sure you transfer all of those to a password manager before deleting the document.
Yes.
Okay. Is it not good to keep your passwords in Apple Passwords under the settings?
So Apple passwords, and very similar thing with Google passwords. These are built-in password managers that are offered by Apple and Google that are automatically set up on your phones and computers and everything. And the security of them is okay. However, it's not as good as the 3 password managers that we listed. It comes with the same issues of if someone gets into your phone or they get your Google password or your Apple password, you're pretty much out of luck and they have all of your passwords.
Mm-hmm.
So generally it's recommended to use a third-party password manager.
Okay, somebody asked you to repeat the names of the 3 password managers. Somebody put them in the chat. So they were Keeper, Dashlane, and Bitwarden. Is
Yeah.
that correct? Okay. How about Google Cloud password deletion?
I am not familiar with that. If the person who asked the question is able to clarify that at all, that would be great.
And do you want to unmute? All right.
Okay.
I think we made it through the questions. Is there anything else?
I'll put the link. Oh, I saw Alex's hand go up.
Oh, sure. Alex, go ahead.
Okay, one other question, and no, I just forgot it. Just a sec. Oh
I do
boy.
that too.
I was about to type it and then I heard my name and now I can't remember what it is. Oh shoot. Oh yes, I remember. So as I said, I have an Apple. I use Apple products and I have Safari and it says private window or something like that.
Mhm.
And I think all that means, but I'm not positive, is that that they can't track, they don't see who I am. Is that it? Is there any security there? And given that Safari seems to jump over to Google, I
Mhm.
just don't know if it means anything. Do you know?
So, yeah, so with the private windows on iPhone, with Safari and in most other browsers, they call it incognito mode. The difference there is that whatever site you're going to is not able to store information as easily, and is not able to track you as easily. And another difference is that on the browser side, it will not store the browsing history, not cookies, but it will not store the browsing history for whatever the site that you're trying to go to is. So if you go to YouTube in incognito mode and private browsing mode, you will not be able to find whatever URL you went to previously in your browser history. That's the main difference.
Okay, thank you.
Joseph, do you have general recommendations on how frequently passwords should be changed?
Generally, passwords should be changed every 2 to 3 years.
Oh,
Obviously, if your password is breached into, especially your master password, you will want to change that password. And if your master password is compromised, you will want to change all of your passwords.
all right. I see one in the Q&A. Just another clarifying. So I don't need McAfee with my Mac Air laptop? Question mark?
No. So you don't need programs like McAfee, Malware Bytes, Avast. You don't need third-party antivirus softwares on most modern computers as long as they're up to date.
Modern would be within the last 2 years.
Modern would be within probably the last 3 to 4 years, as long as you make sure that Windows Update and Mac OS updates are done.
Mhm. Yeah, I haven't had third-party antivirus software on my personal machines for probably 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
Let's see, Alex, I see your hand up again, but I want to, how often should we clear cookies?
So with cookies, it depends, because a lot of the time it really does not affect pretty much anything. If you're having an issue with a website, say not loading or it's loading weird, or it's giving you some strange behavior, you probably want to clear the cookies because it could just be that something got corrupted. Just because your computer was on the fritz that day. But generally, you don't really need to clear your cookies and browser history. However, it's not a bad idea to clear it, say, every 6 months.
Okay. And then, let's see, what about the needing third-party antivirus software on tablets? Is that a thing?
Generally, you don't need antivirus software on tablets, both with Android tablets and with iPads. However, just like with Android phones and iPhones, iPads are going to be more secure, but they're both going to be generally pretty safe, and you don't need antivirus software on them.
Okay. And then
How about
Alex
clearing
has-
those cookies?
Looks like she put it in the chat. How do we clear the cookies?
So to clear your cookies, it's going to be different with every browser, but generally they'll have in the browser settings, they'll have something like security settings that after you go into that submenu, they'll have a large button usually that says clear cookies. It's often one of the first steps that people take if they're having issues with the browser.
Okay. Is Bitdefender an antivirus program?
Yes, so Bitdefender is an antivirus program, and Bitwarden is a password manager. Those are two completely separate entities and are not related at all, though they're very easy to mix up. So just remember, Bitwarden is an antivirus software and is not generally necessary, and Bitwarden is a password manager.
All right. Gary, do you want to put another plug in for the survey?
Absolutely. Here's the survey. And by the way, consider WSU Spokane County Extension a trusted source. Here you go. It's there.
So,
That'll take you right into the Qualtrics, which should take you less than 6 or 7 minutes. By the way, I'd like to remind you, you may have heard Joseph say it, you may not. Joseph is a junior.
Sophomore.
sophomore.
He's only a sophomore. He's nearly a junior at
He's
Shadle Park
brilliant.
High School. Pretty impressive, huh? How about a round of applause for our guy?
Thank you.
He got a brilliant marking on a comment in the chat. So
That's really interesting. Shadle High School, I went to high school there the first year it was open.
oh wow.
That's pretty
Brand
cool.
new school.
By the way, you doing the survey, we designed it such that as we're interacting with Jennifer and Tim and Aaron and our team, our Master Gardener leads, it gives us a sense of where people's questions are, where their strengths are, where their need for more learning is, so we can tailor programs like this to the Master Gardener's needs going forward. So thank you for doing that. And once we're done, we'll be doing I'll do a summary that Jennifer and the team can access.
Great,
I think we lost Tim Kolhoff. He's here in the office too, but he's one of Jennifer's right hands.
Yep.
We hope you enjoyed the program and that you're going away a little more confident in going out there and seeing what the world's all about. One thing I would add, I noticed a few people were asking about, well, what do I do with my master password once I create a password manager or a password vault? We've got a safe, and my master password is written down in the safe, as is my wife's, and our son has the code to the safe. So if something were to happen to us, he could get into those passwords and manage our life. Should we need assistance, or just cash in on it should we check out? And I change my master password at least every 6 months, just because there's a lot of highly capable, nefarious characters out there.
Oh, excellent.
Right. Alex has another question or comment.
I'm sorry, but
No,
I
I'm glad
just,
you do. This is great. You're asking all the questions that I should have thought about asking and didn't. Like,
I just realized that on my iPhone, I have an app called Color Notes. And in there, I have a gazillion different lists because, you know, when I'm out and about and I have to, you know, get into either my bank or my healthcare records or whatever it is, or airlines, I can't remember everything. So I have these various lists and I have all my passwords there on my iPhone. So is that going to be a problem too? Do I have to delete all of that from my iPhone now that I have to delete everything from my computers?
I would put all of the passwords in a password manager and then yes, delete it all. It's kind of a hassle. However, it will make finding all of your passwords and accounts easier in the future and is also significantly more secure.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, but thank you.
So Alex, I'm doing it. I had my bank account got hacked because I was careless with my passwords. They were in my iPhone, in the password manager. I had passwords in my Google, under the Google password manager, and it got hacked. And I'm doing it, and I'm using a paid version because my husband uses a paid version, so it didn't cost me any more. And I can tell you, it's a pain, but it's getting easier the more I do it.
Okay.
And I feel good about it. I feel really
Okay.
good about it because I know that it's safe.
Okay.
Jennifer, you are going to post this recording on the Master Gardener resources page, right?
Yeah. Debbie, I'm not sure if we should go on the resources page or on our YouTube page. I was going to talk to you about that, Debbie. And I'll let everybody know where it gets posted.
Meaning.
I have one more question. Can I
Okay.
ask? So if you have two users on your computer and I get the VPN, does the VPN also work for the other user, or do they have to have their own VPN? And by
So
the way, they have an Android phone.
okay.
My husband.
So depending on what type of computer, I'm not super familiar with installing applications on Macs. But I believe as long as you install the application on their account as well, and then sign in with your VPN account, you can have it on both profile users and it will work just the same.
Okay, thank you. I'll look into it. Thank you very much.
Yep.
All
I
right.
think we've come to the end of our hour, Jennifer.
Yes, we have. Thank you, everybody, so much. I will share out the recording with all registered participants, and then I will get this either posted on the Master Gardener YouTube page or to our state website.
And I put
Please fill out the survey.
if you just copy any number of any one of the many times I've put the link for the Qualtrics survey in and then paste it into your browser, it'll take you straight away to the evaluation.
And thank you, Joseph. That was fantastic. I have a feeling we're gonna want to do this more.
Thank you.
Yeah. Take care, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Keep smiling, everyone.